For more on the tariffs, let's bring in Greg McBride. He's the chief financial analyst for Bankrate. Greg, how will imposing a 10% baseline tax on imports from all countries affect American families?
Well, in the near term, it's going to mean higher costs. And I think, that's really what's resonating with households. That's why you've seen consumer confidence plunge the way that it has, because household budgets have already been stretched and strained by several years worth of inflation and high prices. So adding onto that, on top of those already high prices, that's really weighing on consumer confidence.
And I've seen that you've made commentary about people dipping into their savings. Let's talk about something that's concrete. There will be a 25% tariff on all imported cars. Who ends up paying for that?
Ultimately, the car buyer. If you've been spending the last couple of weekends test driving and walking the lots, you probably want to get that deal done here in the next couple of weeks. The cars that are on the lot now are not subject to tariffs because they're already here. But those that have yet to come into the U.S., they will be subject to tariffs. And so that car that you might otherwise buy a month or 2 months or 3 months down the road, that's where you're likely to see a much higher sticker price reflective of those tariffs.
So you think that really is going to affect the price of cars going forward? Do you think it's going to affect car sales?
Yes, I think it will. I mean, in some ways, you've already seen some of that demand pulled forward, people rushing in to buy cars now. I don't know that I completely advocate for that strategy, but nonetheless, people are doing it. Used cars are an option too, right? So if already pricey new cars are now out of your price range with that tariff tacked on top, used cars are an option. And so that's where you could see a little bit of supply and demand. If all of a sudden there's a lot more demand for used cars than there is supply, that could push up prices on used cars as well, even though they are not subject to tariffs.
Well, let's talk about these international trading partners. In February, the president announced tariffs on Canada and on Mexico, and a day after the announcement, he pulled them back. And that's just one example of this tariff whiplash, as we like to call it, and the effects it's having on the market. If the president does that again with these tariffs, what will that do to the economy?
Well, I think it's that uncertainty that's already a headwind to the economy. We talked about how consumer confidence has plunged, but business confidence has really slumped as well. Why? Because there's so much uncertainty, and that on again, off again, what's exempt, what's not exempt, that kind of businesses can't plan around that. And when there's that type of uncertainty, businesses don't go out and hire a bunch of people. They don't expand production. They sit back and wait for the dust to settle. They'd want to know the rules of the game before they get in. And so that in and of itself can be a headwind to the economy. I think businesses, more than anything, they just want uncertainty. They just want to know what the rules of the game are.
And is there any world where they realize that this is the new way to operate, this kind of unstable environment, and that the economy can't stabilize around that?
I think, businesses are very adaptive, but it's, you got to know the rules of the road. And, I think once that's in place, then, businesses are willing to make investments and plan around that. But, when there's not even certainty about those type of things, that's what makes it so difficult.
Well, we'll be watching that carefully. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you, Monty.